The Jeremy Lin saga has captured the imagination of New York City and really basketball fans everywhere.
Lin with the ball in his hands. Fans on their feet. 5, 4. Lin for the win. Got it.
Once you hit rock bottom, the only way is up. But rock bottom just seems to keep getting more and more rock bottom for me. And so free agency has been tough because I feel like in some ways the NBA has kind of given up on me.
One hit wonder. An entity that achieves mainstream popularity for only one piece of work and becomes known among the general public solely for that momentary success. In the basketball world, there really isn't a better poster boy. An underscouted nobody who had to scratch and claw for every bit of playing time to go undrafted shouldn't be center stage lighting up the best players in the world at the Madison Square Garden. Yet, you, me, and everyone else were glued to the couch to catch what was the best show in basketball. The rise of Linsanity was, well, insane. But the sudden disappearance after the run that made his career, maybe even more insane. As time played out and Jeremy Lin's run in the NBA is clearly over, the mixed reviews of his post-Linsanity days seem to get even more controversial. To some, he was riding the coattails of a 2-week run that got him paid for the next 7 years, and to some, he was bullied out of the spotlight by bigger names that didn't have the time to share with him. But what was the real reason the guy who took over basketball disappeared overnight?
With the NBA playoffs in full swing, it's literally the best time to catch a game all year long. I know we all want to pop out a game while tensions are at their highest, but whether it be price, timing, or getting your seats before they sell out, it just never seems to work out. But with the Game Time Sports app, finding killer deals on seats is easier than ever. With views from the seats and all-in prices right in your face, they take the guesswork out of the ticketing process. I was able to catch my local Minnesota Gophers thanks to the Game Time app, and it couldn't have been a better experience. With incredible last-minute deals and the simplicity of a 2-click purchase, it's time to leave the excuses in the past. With the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation, and even job loss protection, Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. It's time to finally follow through this year. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code SWISHCOUNTY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, redeem code SWISHCOUNTY for $20 off. And a big thank you to the Game Time app for sponsoring today's video.
The come-up of Jeremy Lin can be traced back to his days at Palo Alto. Standing over 6 feet with parents both standing at 5'6", Lin hit the lottery and damn did he put it to good use. Putting up 15, 7, and 6 with a crazy 5 steals a game is really good production for a guard at this level. And doing it on the biggest stage with a 32-1 record, beating teams like Mater Dei High School for a state championship, should get you recognized by any high major school that wants a do-it-all guard. When he should have been on top of the world, the hard work really just began. Being asked to walk on by every Pac-10 team he reached out to, and was only given a spot on the 2 Ivy League teams on academic scholarships. Although a very complete game and high school career altogether, lacking that explosive leap or pull-up 3 type confidence, or a 6'8" wingspan or something makes it quite a bit harder to garner collegiate attention from reputable schools. And although many millionaires may have started their careers at Harvard, not too many did it through basketball. And the start of Lin's collegiate career didn't make it look like he was going to be one of them either. Putting up just 5 a game on 41% from the field and 28 from deep. Now, Harvard's assistant coach Bill Holden's first impression of Lin was that he was Division III talent. As the weakest guy on the team, with a game reliant on fearlessly attacking the basket and inviting contact at every opportunity, he had a long road ahead of him. What became clear very quickly was this guy embraced the work as much as anyone. Jumping to all Ivy League's second team the year after warming benches at 12 a game, was just foreshadowing the things to come. As during his junior and senior years, he was silently one of the most complete guards at the collegiate level, putting up 18 points and 16.5 respectively on over 50% shooting, a solid mark from deep, Jeremy Lin had turned around what looked like mediocrity into a very respectful college career. But when the attention was at its highest, what seemed like a low-risk, decent-reward guy with some really nice versatility as a combo guard, this was still not enough to be picked up in the 2010 NBA draft. Scouts later stated that what they saw at Harvard was a smart passer with a flawed jump shot and a thin frame, who might not have had the strength and athleticism to defend, create his own shot, or finish at the rim in the NBA. In what could have easily been the end of the road, one offer to play for the Dallas Mavericks Summer League team kept the dream alive. Putting up 10 points, 3 boards, and 2 assists a night in the 18 minutes that he played was good enough production to land interest with multiple teams. Lin signed a partially guaranteed deal with the hometown Golden State Warriors to again just keep the dream going. In a year that saw many more downs than it did ups, Lin would barely grace an NBA floor as he would be sent down to the D-League 3 separate times. And despite putting up 18, 6, and 4 in 20 games and garnering numerous trade offers as a low-risk option, Lin would be waived by the Warriors on the first day of training camp the following season, before being claimed and waived again by the Rockets just 3 days later. As Lin continued to tread water in the NBA and offered to fit into the New York Knicks as an injury replacement, sliding in as the 4th point guard on the depth charts was the opportunity that of course changed his life forever. After playing in just 7 of the first 19 games, a random matchup against the New Jersey Nets would quickly spark one of the craziest sports phenomenons in recent history. A 25-point explosion from a guy who scored 32 points all year was the first domino to fall. 28 against Utah the next game, and 23 on Washington to follow. Jeremy Lin in 3 games had turned himself from a nobody hanging on by a thread in the NBA to a guy who was feuding with Kobe Bryant himself in one of the most infamous games in recent history. After the late great stated that he didn't know who Jeremy Lin was,
I don't even know what he's done. I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Lin followed up this performance with 38 on the Black Mamba's head to extend the struggling Knicks win streak to 4. Lin in a week became a mainstream celebrity, peaking with a chilling shot to close out the Toronto Raptors. Watching him dribble out the clock as a packed arena slowly rises to their feet, realizing they're witnessing the peak of one of the craziest sport runs to ever come about, still gives me goosebumps to this day, and caps off this movie-like out-of-nowhere explosion that grabbed the world by storm. With talk show hosts and mainstream media coming by the wayside, the rise of Jeremy Lin's stardom was inevitable. But just as quickly as he rose, Lin would quickly collapse. Following an 8-point performance on 1 for 11 shooting against the Miami Heat, the aftermath of Linsanity would total of 14 points and 6 assists finish on 39% shooting and 29% from deep, opposed to his 24 points and 9 assists on 50% shooting and 36 from deep during the Linsanity run. The drop was evident. What many also seemed to notice about the timing of this swing was the return of the New York Knicks star that Jeremy Lin was taking the place of.
Yeah, and the Linsanity wave is just, and Melo out. Remember, Melo was
injured
out.
when he went on that
out.
run. Yeah,
he go on a run. We went like 5-6 in a row. Melo come back, but when Melo come back, Jeremy Lin is the biggest star in the world.
Fuck New York in the world.
Fuck New York. The world, bro.
For sure.
The world. Yeah. He has literally went from like nobody to the face of the NBA.
Yeah, for sure.
The timing of an extremely ball-dominant star to be nice and a ball hog who disappears when it counts to be critical are going to hurt another ball-dominant player's numbers, no doubt about it. But the resigning of Mike D'Antoni could very well have played just as big of a role. A coach whose systems have been known to somewhat inflate the production of the primary ball handler, as we've seen with guys like James Harden and Steve Nash before, found its new system PG in a very unlikely place. Regardless, after finishing the season on a low note, the Knicks promised to bring around Linsanity for another round of craziness, willing to match any offer up to $1 billion for their starting point guard next season. But after receiving a 3-year, $25 million offer from Houston, Linsanity in New York was officially over. The rise and fall of this run can best be explained as the perfect storm of positives and unlucky timing of negatives. Playing on a team with numerous injured players at his position, as well as the man's center stage in Carmelo Anthony, gave him the opportunity to play in the perfect system for a guard whose game is built on his quick first step to penetrate and get to the tin, as well as distribute and create advantages for himself. As Lin's career would play out, his high IQ yet high risk, high reward playstyle would turn him into a very streaky player, who performs best when the lights were at their brightest. And as that stakes continued to raise throughout Linsanity, so did his play and then some. The exit of D'Antoni and return of Carmelo, who seemed happy to see his co-star leave, calling his contract with Houston a ridiculous offer, stampeded on the fairy tale back into reality. The reincarnation of Linsanity in Houston would also very quickly be shut down after the preseason addition of James Harden, basically the two-guard version of Carmelo Anthony. As Lin would go on to produce very average numbers in the next 2 seasons at 13 and 12 points per game and 44% shooting both years, the flatlining reality of what the 4-year college player really was became clear. Losing his starting role in the second year, Lin's spark plug style of play that could explode for a big game here and there became a more realistic role than what seemed to be the birth of the NBA's next star guard just 2 years prior. Lin would be traded the following season to total mediocre numbers once again, this time struggling to consistently start on a terrible Lakers squad. With memories here and there like Lin waving off the Black Mamba in a pin block against Draymond Green, Lin would sign just a 2-year, $4 million deal with the Charlotte Hornets the following season, a long fall from his previous deal, but as his value on the open market had stabilized, an average deal for somewhat of an average playing point guard kinda made sense. Lin showed flashes of his scoring talent, but as a streaky shooter, kind of undersized guard, and a bit of an out-of-control player, the full package never came together like we saw in Linsanity again. It can be said that he was never given the opportunity to shine like he did during his Knicks run, but as an inefficient 3-point shooter whose high loose dribble limited his ability to attack hard closeouts, which should be his bread and butter, Lin's career turned as average as it could get in the few years that followed. Lin would silently return very promisingly in the postseason, earning a major bag in the coming offseason. Another 11-point season with major explosions when the lights were at their brightest quickly became the Jeremy Lin special. But this did land him a 3-year, $36 million deal to bring him to Brooklyn. On a terrible team that allowed him to play with the ball in his hands, Jeremy Lin had the best season of his career since leaving the Knicks, putting up 14, 5, and 4 on 44% from the field and 37% from deep. When everything was looking up for him, this is sadly where Jeremy Lin's slow fall into irrelevance became a speed track to basketball hell. Frequent lower body injuries had piled up over the years due to his 100-mile-an-hour play style, putting his body on the line every time down the floor. The years of beatdowns took him out for half of the season, and the following year would see Jeremy Lin suffer a major knee injury the first game of the season, tragically sidelining him for the rest of the year. Watching Jeremy Lin burst into tears after mouthing the words "I'm done" marked the end of Jeremy Lin's run in the NBA, finishing on a high note with a minor role in the Toronto Raptors before being given up on the NBA. Lin would play his final game in 2019. After not receiving any phone calls from NBA GMs, Jeremy Lin did what he's always done and got back to work, putting up efficient 20s in the G League and CBA, continuing to show that there isn't an ounce of quit in the kid. But despite leading the G League in shooting percentage, dropping the 20-piece, Jeremy Lin was far from a scout's radar. It may be controversial to some as a guy that certainly has some juice left in the tank, but after 8 straight years of average play, the injuries that took him out in his final years more than likely put the nails in the coffin. Despite the occasional big jump shooting games, Lin's out-of-control play style was heavily reliant on his quick first step, especially as a guy who never had a super tight handle on the ball. As father time caught up to him and he began to lose his greatest attribute, as he said when he went down with his patellar tendon rupture, he was done. Very similarly to what happened to Andre Roberson after suffering the same injury. Lin may have came with all the heart in the world, but at the NBA level, he never really proved to be more than a fringe starter or a textbook sixth man type of talent, putting up 11 a game in his career on below average shooting split as a pretty turnover prone guard was not going to age well when your biggest advantage was being able to beat defenders and change directions quickly. It's easy to understand why after his playing days he still hasn't found peace on the way that he was let go by the league, as no matter what he does, his chances are really looking bleak unless he can find a way to turn back the clock. And after dealing with racial remarks his entire career, I can't blame him for feeling like not looking the part played a hand in his career's downturn. Jeremy Lin is always going to be ridiculed for failing to come close to the hype that he had during his moment in the spotlight. And in retrospect, I think we all wish that Linsanity could have meant more than just a moment in history. But for an undrafted kid out of Harvard to turn nothing into a 9-year NBA career and inspire millions in the process isn't too damn bad either. Thanks for watching if you made it this far. Check out my last video here if you missed it, and I'll see you boys in the next one. Peace out.